Teach me to walk in the light of His love. Teach me to pray to my Father above. Teach me to know all the things that are right. Teach me to walk in the light. Teach me to walk. Teach me to walk. Come, little child, and together we'll love His commandments, that we may return home to His presence, to live in His sight. Always, always, to walk in the Father in heaven. We thank Thee this day for loving guidance to show us the way. Grateful we praise Thee with songs of delight. Gladly we'll walk in the light. Teach me to walk in the light. Teach me to walk. Teach me to walk in the light.
Hello, and welcome to another Walk in the Light devotional. My name is Elder Palmer.
And my name is Elder Fellows, and we will be tonight's hosts. We're excited to be here with you tonight, and as we get the event started and people are joining in, let us know in the comments down below where you're tuning in from.
Tonight we'll be hearing from former tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, Chad Lewis. Before we introduce him, we'd like to start off the devotional with an opening musical number performed by Amber Dickens and an opening prayer offered by Leah Hernandez, all of whom are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the New London area.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the beautiful things that you give to us. Thank you for your love and your blessings, and thank you for life. We ask you, Heavenly Father, that tomorrow can be a beautiful day, and that the rest of today can be a beautiful day as well. And we ask you, Heavenly Father, that all the children in the world can be happy and safe, and that everyone can be safe. And also ask you, Heavenly Father, that we can have your spirit and that everything can be happy and good. And we live all beautiful things in your lovely Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Wow, that was incredible. There truly is so much talent in this New England area.
That is so true. Thank you. And speaking of talent, Chad Lewis played in the NFL for 9 years. 8 of those years were with the Philadelphia Eagles and 1 year with the St. Louis Rams.
During his career with the Eagles, Chad was selected to the Pro Bowl 3 times. He also helped the Eagles get to Super Bowl 39 with 2 touchdowns in the NFC Championship Game. He has also received multiple awards presented by the NFL Alumni.
Chad was inducted into the BYU Athletic Hall of Fame in 2007 and the Utah Sports Hall of Fame in 2012.
He has represented the NFL as an ambassador around the world, including in China, Thailand, Korea, and Tanzania, to name a few. In 2009, he wrote a book about how his family and faith have impacted his life, titled Surround Yourself with Greatness.
Now, Chad lives with his wife Michelle in Utah, and they have 7 beautiful and very tall children.
Chad, the time is all yours.
Cool. Thank you so much, elders. It's so great to see you and be a part of this. Elder Parker Fellows is my nephew, and I'm so proud of him, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm so happy that you're there, ripping it up, meeting incredible people in the Boston area, serving them, giving your heart and soul to make their lives better. It's one of the most commendable things ever that someone your age is willing to put everything on hold to go serve other people with no other desire than to make them happy, help them in their lives, share the gospel of Jesus Christ with them. It's so awesome. So keep it up. I married Elder Fellows' father's twin sister. And so my wife, Michelle, is Parker's dad's twin sister. And so here I am in Utah coming to you guys through this technology. It's pretty amazing. I'm just going to share some stories. Look, this is NFL weekend. Tomorrow there's going to be an AFC Championship game and an NFC Championship game. In my football career, I was lucky enough to play in 4 NFC Championship games. We lost the first 3. I can remember each one of them painfully well. And the last one that I was a part of, we beat the Falcons to go to the Super Bowl, and it was so awesome. This picture right here is a picture of my son. His name's Jake, and Jake is right now serving as a missionary, just like Elder Fellows, in Fresno, California, and he's speaking Spanish. And so Parker and Jake are the same age. So when Jake was holding my hand walking across the field, Parker was that same age. So Elder Fellows, here we go. With that, I just want to say that as a football player at BYU, my dream was to jump over someone on the football field. And I was a high jumper in high school. I high jumped a little bit at BYU. And that was just something I wanted to do. And so this is a picture of one of the times I jumped over someone on the football field. We're playing Arkansas State. You can see my teammate behind me, K.O. Louis, going airborne himself, making a block. And this was something that it really changed my life and changed my career, because when I first started playing football as a 7th grader, I was less than average. My body was less than stellar. I had 0 muscles. I didn't develop any muscles until way later. And so once I got to BYU, I started to become a better player. And I didn't want to just be a player. I wanted to do something on the field. And this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to jump over someone. And when it happened on the field, it was interesting because I didn't think about it. I wasn't worried about getting hurt. I didn't plan my steps. I had thought about it so much that it just came out of me as a football player. And it was that night that I was thinking about how strange it was that I caught this pass running down the field and jumped over this guy. And I was talking to Michelle late that night, and it was actually the next day on the phone, just telling her how unique that feeling was to not even think about it, just happen. And what I believe happened is I put it so deep in my mind and my heart that it just came out of me. And so I know that the dreams and hopes and goals that we have, the more we think about them, the more attainable they become. And just like this picture jumping over someone on a football game, on a football field, it was so much fun. And it was a dream and a goal that I had, and it happened. And I think because I thought about it so much. Football to me is a sport that it's more about friendship and it's more about developing relationships than anything else. If you want to be a championship caliber football team, you have to have great team chemistry. Team chemistry only comes when you work hard together and you love each other. And this is one of my teammates, Charles Johnson, who spent some time up in New England. And I loved him. I just loved playing with him. He was a great leader for our team. And I wish that we could have won a Super Bowl together. And because it is NFC Championship and AFC Championship weekend, I want to take a picture from one of my NFC Championship games. This is in Philadelphia. We're playing the Falcons. And it was early in the game, and I caught a pass from Donovan McNabb. The pass was interesting because it was in the goal line area, and we did a play action pass. He faked a run to the left, and he rolled out to the right, threw this ball to me in the corner of the end zone. And as you can see, I'm catching the ball, and I'm getting both my feet in bounds by a centimeter. The play was challenged by Jim Moore Jr., the coach of the Falcons, and it stood. It was a touchdown. And what I love about this picture is my tight end coach, Tom Melvin, had us do this exact drill every day in the off season. And then once a week during the season, we would do this drill. We'd run full speed to the sideline. He'd throw us the ball. We'd have to catch it, get both feet in bounds. And we loved doing the drill, but I never had a chance in a game to do this until the most important game of my life, the NFC Championship game. And so I'm grateful that my coach had me do this drill, that my body worked like it was supposed to work. And I was able to catch the ball, get both feet in bounds, and boom, we head to the Super Bowl, which was extremely thrilling. And my coach at the time was Andy Reid. He's now the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's one of the greatest dudes I've ever met. I love him. When they won the Super Bowl last year, the entire NFL was happy for him. Players, front office, owners, fans. And the reason that everyone was so thrilled for him is because he's such a great man. He's such a great person, human being, first class. He came to BYU, and he came from California as a member of another faith. And while he was at BYU, he found out about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He wanted to get baptized. He did. He's now a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and one of my greatest examples. I love him. I loved how he coached us in Philly, and I love watching him coach in Kansas City, how he treats people, because to me that's it's a great example of treating people with kindness. He wanted us to be kind to everyone in the facility, everyone in the cafeteria, people in the training room, people in the equipment room. And he told us at the first of each year, if you can't be kind to people, you're not going to fit on this football team. You're not going to work. We're not going to have team chemistry. You should go to another football team. So it just starts with kindness. Like if we can be kind to each other and give each other a little bit of space, we're gonna do really well. And I love him. This is a picture of the run to the Super Bowl for Andy last year. This is a picture, I believe it was on Thanksgiving, and he had a member of his team. It happened to be a friend of mine, Danny Sorensen, who just made the unbelievable play last week to win the game, really. He made a tackle at the goal line, caused a player to fumble into the end zone for a touchback. But this is Danny. Andy asked him to say a prayer at the end of practice. And this is important and meaningful to me because when I was a player with the Eagles, on Christmas Day, if we were practicing, Andy would ask me to say a prayer just like this with my teammates. Prayer is something that Andy Reid believes in. It's something that I believe in. It's the greatest form of communication we have with God. That it doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter what we're doing. God is only one thought away. We can be in heaven right now if we'll just pray. If we'll open our minds and open our hearts up to God, our Father in heaven, who loves us more than we can possibly understand. And he's closer than we know, and he loves us more than we'll ever comprehend. And so this is just such a cool picture to me. Andy sent that to me last year as a way to say, hey, we're still praying. I still love you, and this still means more to me than anything. And I really love that. Before I was a football player at BYU and in the NFL, I was a missionary, just like Elder Fellows. I was called to the Taiwan Taichung mission. I didn't know anything about the Chinese people, the Chinese language. And so I went over there. I learned the language. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the food. I was there for 2 years. I loved everything about it. And this is one of the little girls of a family that we would drive to church. Her and her 2 sisters would get on the back of our bikes, and we'd drive them to church on Sunday mornings. It was awesome. And I love the Chinese people. I'm so grateful for their influence in my life. And I loved teaching the people there. This is a friend of mine who ran a bike shop there in Taiwan. This was his little boy. He was just such a fun little kid. And when I see these pictures of myself years and years ago, it reminds me how much joy I had to be a missionary. Where, like Elder Fellows, the only thing I wanted to do was make other people happy. I just wanted to serve them. I didn't have any bills, no debts. I didn't have any homework assignments. My life, my love, my heart was just trying to make other people happy. And what's interesting is while I was a missionary, there was a missionary named Elder Bayless from Kansas. And he just came from BYU, and he's in our mission in Taiwan, and he's flipping through some pictures. And he shows me a picture of one of his friends playing ultimate frisbee. And I said, who is that? Something about the picture, it just stopped me. And I said, Elder Bayless, who is that guy? And he said, his name's Mark Fellows. He's one of my friends. And I'm like, man, he looks so familiar to me. I don't think I know him, but it seems like I know him. And then I get home from my mission. I go to BYU, and I find and fall in love with Michelle Fellows, who's Mark's twin sister. Why did I have that experience looking at that picture as a missionary when I saw Elder Fellows' dad for the first time? I don't know. It's something I've always thought about, how interesting that was, that it just stopped me in my tracks. I'm so grateful to be married to Michelle. Because of my ability to speak Chinese, the NFL asked if I would help some of their efforts in Asia and other parts of the world. So as an ambassador for the NFL, they asked me if I would help with the World Championships of the flag football tournament that was held in Beijing, China. So we went there with 10 teams from 10 different countries around the world. And here we are on the Great Wall of China taking a picture with all these teams. We hiked it. That's why I'm so sweaty right there. China gets really hot. And it was a lot of fun to be there with them. And because of that, they asked if I would cover the Super Bowl in Chinese the first time it went live to the world. And so it was Super Bowl 38. It was in Houston, Texas. And it was between the Carolina Panthers and your New England Patriots. And so what was interesting about that game is I told the NFL that my ability to speak Chinese was extremely limited to just missionary Chinese. I didn't know all the terms for football. And they said, look, you are going to be great. Jump on the broadcast and just have fun, do your best. So here I am with Mr. Han, who's the John Madden of sports broadcasting in China. And during the football game, the way that I would describe the action is I would say, Wojerdal, Tom Brady, Chwanda Hunt, Jung Treda. I testify that Tom Brady is throwing true passes. And Mr. Han would look at me like, all right, that's an interesting way to call a game. We had a blast. I had so much fun. I'm grateful for the opportunity. And that led into a couple other fun opportunities. One of them was hiking Mount Kilimanjaro with 4 wounded warriors from our nation's military. And then a couple guys from the NFL. One of them was Teddy Bruschi, middle linebacker for the New England Patriots. We butted heads several times as players, and we got to know each other on this hike. And I love Teddy Bruschi. We became blood brothers on that trip. Another person was Jeff Fisher, who was a head coach in the NFL. And as we hiked with these wounded warriors, we got a chance to get to know each other. I didn't know Teddy off the field. I didn't know Jeff off the field. And these guys were incredible people. And I got to know Teddy's background of having a stroke. And my dad had a stroke. And Teddy runs Teddy's team that he gets about 35 or 40 people each year to run the Boston Marathon. And I said, Teddy, my dad, he ran the Boston Marathon before his stroke. And as Teddy talked to me on this hike about his charity, I said, Teddy, I want to come out and run the Boston Marathon. Who should I talk to? And he's like, me. This is my foundation. This is my group. I said, okay, I'm telling you I want to do it. And he's like, all right, you're in. I said, okay, well, thank you. If I'm doing this, you're going to do it with me, right? And he's like, no. And it took me 3 hours of talking to Teddy on the first day of our hike up Kilimanjaro to convince him that if I was going to run the Boston Marathon, that he was going to run it with me. And so that's what happened. And I'll show you a picture at the end of this of us running the Boston Marathon together. And I'll tell you, running the Boston Marathon with Teddy Bruschi was like running the Boston Marathon with Paul Revere. I mean, every third step, people were from the side of the streets, just shouting, Teddy! And it was really cool. It was fun. I love the guy. Love him. This is Brian Wagner, one of our wounded warriors who had his leg blown off in Iraq. He's in the Army, just incredible guy, tons of personality. And up this mountain we go. Kilimanjaro is unique because you hike way above the clouds. You go up into an elevation of 19,341 feet. And here's a cool shot of Teddy above the clouds, just having some fun on our way up the mountain. And as we go around the volcano, we get to a point right here called the Lava Tower. This is 15,200 feet. And all of us had little headaches at this point. We were wondering, how are we going to get to 19,000 feet if we have headaches right here at 15? And we just kind of told each other, Teddy and I, our thing was keep drinking water, keep drinking fluids. We want to make sure that we get to the top of this mountain. That was our goal. Here's a picture of Ben Lunak. He's a Marine from North Dakota, had his leg blown off. And on the 4th day of the hike, we hiked up 5 days and down 2 days. On the 4th day, his leg was having major difficulties. And you can see how challenging it was for these guys with prosthetic legs. There were 2 of them, Brian and Ben. And Ben's up top in the khaki pants. And his knee, his stump, was really, really hurting at this point. And he got to a point where at the end of this day, we're 50 miles into the hike at this point. We're on our 4th day, and his stump is just killing him. This is Ben walking into camp. He's in agony. And the guides went and looked at his leg, his stump, and they said, your trip is over. You're not going to be able to go to the top. And so they took Ben and they walked him over to a stretcher, and we took a picture as a group right before this happened, and then they put him in a stretcher and carried him off the mountain. And before they carried him off the mountain, Teddy Bruschi went to him and said, Ben, you are a hero of mine. And a part of you is going to the top of this mountain, so give me your leg. We're taking that thing to the top. And Ben started crying. This is a tough Marine. He looked at Teddy. He's like, Teddy, you're treating me like I'm one of your teammates. And Teddy said, because you are my teammate. And so with that, he took his leg and put it in his backpack. And this is Teddy getting ready to go up the steepest part of the mountain as we head for the summit. We're going to hike all night long And we get near the top, and Teddy is super tired. And at this point, he said, "Chad, I'm exhausted. We have 1 mile left to go about to the summit." And he said, "Can you take Ben's leg?" And so I said, "Yes." The guides put it in my backpack, and it felt so heavy when it went into my backpack. And I just realized what a stud Teddy was for carrying that leg. This is Teddy, Jeff, and I as we're going up the last ridge to the summit. This is just a minute or two before the sun rose and popped out and day came. We were freezing cold. And as we got closer to that sunrise, I don't think I've ever been more anxious for a sunrise in my life. Just the warmth of the sun, the top of the mountain. We all had ripping headaches at this elevation. I wanted to get to the top, take a picture, and get out of there. And so that's what we did. We got to the top. There were 2 of the 4 warriors that made it to the top. Jeff Fisher's holding Ben's leg. And this is us holding a picture, Believe in Heroes. And we wanted to share our gratitude for the wounded warriors, what they were doing up there, defending our freedom, standing in harm's way for us. This is once we got back down to the bottom of the mountain, standing with Teddy and Jeff and Michael Wilson, who is another one of our wounded warriors. And this picture means a lot to me. It was great to get to know those guys. I'm super grateful for the wounded warriors who stood in defense of our freedom. I love them. I love them. I love America. I'm so grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy. And I love these great people that I was able to spend time with. And this was my experience. This was 2012. It was 1 year before the bombing of right at Boston Marathon. So my parents, where they were sitting, was right across where the bomb happened the next year. But this is my dad, Roger Lewis, who ran the Boston Marathon back in 1979. And the guards along the way were cool enough to let my dad come out of where he was sitting in the VIP section and finish the Boston Marathon with me. And it was really cool. And then here's a picture with Teddy and his wife, Heidi, after we ran the Boston Marathon. It was a very cool experience. And you guys out there in Boston, you have an uncommon hero in Teddy Bruschi. And I just wanted to say how much I love Jesus Christ. I'm so grateful that I was a missionary just like Elder Fellows, and that for 2 years in Taiwan, I got to go teach people about him. And I'll finish with this picture right here. This is a picture, a painting from Carl Bloch, who's painting his feelings of Christ's atonement in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he took upon himself all of our sins. And he really showed the greatest display of love in the history of the universe right here. And he wants all of us to come unto him. It doesn't matter where we are, what we've done, where we've been. It doesn't matter. What he wants is for us to come close to him, because when we do, we feel joy. We feel happy, we feel peace, and that's what I want. So those are my stories. That's my presentation. I'm happy as anything to take questions from the missionaries, from anyone else. So Elder Fellows, the time is yours. Go for it. I'm at your disposal.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that message and for those stories that you shared with us. I really felt the spirit, and I really enjoyed what you said about prayer. Prayer is one of those things that I've gained a really strong testimony of on my mission. And, I know that God truly answers our prayers. He's listening to every single one of them. And because he loves us, he answers all of them.
And I love the painting that you shared with us at the end right there of Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, and that he struggled and he had his pains and his sufferings, but because he experienced that, he experienced all of those pains and all the sufferings, he knows exactly how to help us. And he knows how to help us in whichever struggle or pain that we may have in our life, even if it's climbing a mountain or if it's something completely small or something completely different. I think that is really great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks. I love that picture, that painting too. Love it. Incredible.
It truly is. It's amazing. And so we'll now move into the question and answer portion of the devotional. And so we'll go ahead and bring up our first question. It comes from Christian Leguizman. It says, how has the gospel influenced you on the pitch?
Oh man, in every way. I'll tell you, I've never prayed more in my life than during football games. I'll stand on the sidelines and I just tried to always have a prayer in my heart. Not only was I going against the best players in the world at the positions, defensive end, Michael Strahan, strong safety, John Lynch, whoever it was middle linebacker, Teddy Bruschi. I was going against the best players in the world. I needed help from above. I needed help to be healthy and to have energy. And it was just through the whole game, I kept a continual dialogue of prayer. Heavenly Father, please bless me with the strength to do this. And I'm really grateful for that. Like you guys were saying about prayer, it's one of the most powerful things in our lives. Doesn't matter where we are. We can always pray.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that answer, and that is so true. I as well have grown a great testimony of prayer, especially on my mission, that we always can pray in whatever situation to our Heavenly Father. Thank you for that answer. We'll now pull up our next question, and that's from Julia Ruth. And she said, in a culture of pulling others down, how can you be the influence to pull others up?
That's such a good question. My favorite principle teaching from Jesus Christ is when he said to the people, let your light shine. Let your light shine and let them see your good works, that they may glorify your Father who is in heaven. To me, like you said, there is so much negativity. And after this election, I had a lot of political stuff on my social media feed, and I just took all of it off. And it's easy to be sucked down the rabbit hole of just stuff that doesn't matter, that doesn't bring joy. And so I just made a deal with myself after that election that I was going to focus on my family, my work at BYU, and the Savior Jesus Christ. And if I could do that, then good things would happen in my life, and I would have more joy, and that helps me stay away from the negative stuff. And the book that I wrote, the title of it is Surround Yourself with Greatness. And what I mean by that is surround yourself with great things to read, movies to watch, friends, family, and try as hard as you can to avoid anything that brings you down. It might be friends, it might be family in some cases, it might be images on the internet that are not appropriate. Just whatever it takes to keep those influences that aren't right away from you. That was the purpose of that message. Surround ourselves with greatness.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love what you said about the family there. The family is a gift from God and truly is a great source of pure joy. And what you said about, just letting go of negativity and letting positive influences, letting greatness lift you up. Truly something that we can all learn from. And we'll now bring up the next question. And this is from Daxton Cox. And it says, when have you been at a crossroad between football and the gospel? And what helped you choose the gospel?
That's a good question. The crossroads come to each of us every day. We're constantly given opportunities to go one way or the other. And thank heavens for me, I married a girl that is just amazing, that helped me stay strong through the challenges and temptations of the NFL. Obviously, the NFL is an intense organization. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of fame. There's a ton of money. There's a lot of everything in there. And to stay grounded through that, it took reading the scriptures every day, saying my prayers every day, listening to great music. But the key for me was my wife, Michelle, and her constant support and talking and planning and fighting through the whole thing each day. So when those crossroads, and they'll keep coming until we die. We're human beings. They're going to keep happening. When those crossroads come, it's great to be surrounded by good, strong people that help you stay on the right road.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we'll pull up our next question. And it is from Max Scalf. And he said, were there any times that you or another player that you witnessed choose to walk in the light and be a good example for teammates despite peer pressure to do otherwise?
Yeah, there were times where I had teammates who cared about me as a friend and wanted me to do things that weren't right, and I just described to them, that's not something that I do. I'm not going to do that. And I always felt like when I made those choices to stick with the things that I believed were right, I just felt empowered and strengthened. And it's good to have strength around you. I know Elder Fellows, one of his first mission companions was Elder Cole Christensen from New Mexico. And I was with him in Boston as BYU was playing UMass a couple years ago. And his dad is a great friend and donor to BYU. And so here I was with Cole out there in Boston. Then he gets his mission call to the Boston area. And then he gets to be mission companions with Elder Fellows. It's a super small world, but good people like that, like Elder Christensen, Elder Fellows, Elder Palmer, you guys, you're changing the world by your kindness to other people. So keep it up. Don't stop. All gas, no brake. Keep helping people.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Elder Christensen, he's a great guy, and we all have those special people that are that light to us and are that great example that help us keep strong even when temptations come our way.
Yeah, so here he is. He's young like you guys. He loves Lake Powell. He loves skiing. He loves BYU. He puts all that on hold to go to Boston and help anyone that he can help, and to teach anyone that's willing to be taught, and to share his testimony and conviction of Christ. I love what you guys are doing.
Truly is a great work. And with that, we'll go into our next question. And it comes from Cade K. Mack. He says, Chad, was it hard to put down your football career for 2 years and serve the Lord? If so, how did you have the faith to decide to go?
Serving a mission is something that I always wanted to do ever since I was young. I had 3 older brothers that served missions. 2 of them went to Ohio, 1 of them went to Argentina, and a younger brother that went to Oklahoma. The Lord sent me to the east. I went to Asia, to Taiwan. It was so much fun. I loved it. It was very hard, but very rewarding. What's interesting is I did that before I played football at BYU. And I don't think that I know I would not have been able to play football at BYU if it wasn't for the things I learned on my mission. I learned how to work. I learned how to dedicate myself whole heart and soul. I learned how to study. And all those things were so important to me as a football player later. I gained a ton of confidence by being a missionary and serving others and finding out what real joy is. I learned that I gain a ton of power and strength from good music and good people. And so when I came home, I walked on to the BYU football team, and I had a whole quiver of arrows, talents, and skills that I learned as a missionary that I had to draw on every day to be a good football player. And they included prayer, hard work, studying like crazy, determination, setting goals. And I just don't think that I personally could have even had a football career if it wasn't for going on a mission. And so I'm so grateful I went.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. And even though I'm not done with my mission, I completely agree. I can already see how the things that I'm learning right now will bless my life in the future. Thank you for sharing that. And now we'll move on to our next question. That's from Caleb David Drake. And he said, what ways were you able to still make Sunday a special day while you were playing?
That's a great question. My wife, she was at church in the mornings, and she would take our kids to church, and then she would come down to the game. Knowing that she was making that sacrifice and dedication in her life helped me. I would wake up in the hotel with my teammates, and I would make sure every week that I would read the scriptures, both from the Bible and from the Book of Mormon. And I would read stories that would bring me power and strength and confidence. And I made sure that I did that every week. And the scriptures have just been a source of absolute fire and power for me. And I never want to go away from that source of power and protection. I need it.
That's awesome. Just like prayer, the scriptures, they're one of the ways that God can communicate with us. And like you said, they truly are a source of power, divine power that can help us even through the hardest times.
That's right.
Thank you so much for that answer and for sharing your experience with that with us. And we'll now move on to our next question. It comes from Carmen Conti. And it says, what was your experience like as a person of faith in the sports world?
It was great because I found there were so many other people that had deep and great faith. And I loved my teammates. There were so many of them that just blew my mind with how good they were. You've seen Brian Dawkins. He was our free safety. He went in the Hall of Fame 2 years ago. And he shared some of his struggles, his personal struggles, his demons with depression and other things. And he battled thoughts of suicide. And he's been able to fight through those. And well, what you probably don't know is he was one of the most deeply religious guys on our team. He would pray for our team before every game. And he treated people off the field with so much Christian kindness. It was remarkable. Now on the field, he wanted to rip your face off, and he did that every week. He hit you so hard that you never wanted to play football ever again. And that was his job. But as a man, and with his heart is just pure as gold. Well, there's so many of my teammates that were just like that. I'm so grateful for them. Their faith strengthened my faith. We weren't all members of the same church. Most of us were Christians. We believe in Christ, but the strength that we shared with each other was it helped me become a better person, and I'm grateful for them. And I think from diversity, we get great strength. And I look at all my teammates from junior high, high school, college, and pro, and it seems like there's something I've learned from just about every one of them.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it is so true that there's so much we can learn and so much strength we can get from those who are examples around us. That's really awesome. And for our next question, we'll have Emily Bingham, and she said, when was a time you followed something from the Lord, and how were you blessed?
Let me share two. Before I played football, I prayed like crazy because one of my missionary companions in Taiwan, his name is Elder Larry Harmer, and he already had a scholarship to play football at BYU, and he wanted me to play with him, and I wanted to play, but I didn't have a scholarship, and he challenged me one day to pray about it. He said, I know you can play football, and if you pray about it, then I'll never bug you again. And I promised to him that day, I said, okay, I will start praying for this like my life depends on it. And I did. I started praying like crazy. And it was about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, that I got a divine answer from God to me. I cannot doubt that feeling that said, go play football. Go in and talk to the coaches. And it was such a confidence building answer to my prayers that I walked in the next day to the coach's office at BYU, and I said, I want to walk onto this football team. And I just felt like it was a divine gift. It always gave me strength, no matter how hard football got. I felt like I was doing what I should be doing. And the second example is when Michelle and I were dating. We fell in love. We wanted to get married. And I prayed because that was the most important decision of my life. And I prayed for that confirmation that Michelle was the person for me to marry. And I was given that absolute that conviction, no question about it. And not just she's the one, but step on the gas, ask her to marry you right now. Don't even let her slip away for 1 second. And those answers to prayers changed the trajectory of my life, my profession, and my family. And those two things mean everything to me.
Thank you so much. There's something truly special about the answer to a prayer. It's so powerful to receive that answer and then have it be almost like an anchor, keeping you strong and faithful through the hardest times in life. And we'll now move on to our next question. And that comes from Juliana Corbridge. And it says, what did you tell yourself or think when you didn't think you had the strength to keep going?
That's a good question. Because it would happen typically every training camp. Training camps were hard enough that you're there for 6 weeks, giving it everything you've got. My body would cramp up after most practices, and I would get to a point where I was so tired and run down. The only thing I could do was pray all night long that I would have the strength in the morning to go back out and compete and fight for my job and make plays on the football field. And there were so many times I could talk for hours and hours about the times where my prayers were answered in a way that I knew that God was with me and helping me and giving me strength to go on. True testimony builders.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And our next question will be from Virginia Mavromatis. And she said, what would you tell someone who's trying to develop faith in Jesus Christ?
This great question. And I'm grateful for the Mavromatis who have allowed me to be on here tonight. But when anyone is searching for the truth or searching to feel closer to God, to want to know if Christ is the Redeemer and he's real, this is my advice. Do what you know is right. And don't do what you know is wrong. The Lord will lead you along. He will guide your footsteps and your feelings. And when you're in that search, just do what you know is right. And avoid what you know is wrong. And while you're in that search to find Christ, if you do that, I guarantee, I promise you that you will find Christ.
Thank you so much. We can all pray to receive our own answers, and as we keep doing what's right, we'll continue to receive more light and be able to increase this faith that we have in Jesus Christ. And as we push away the wrong, that faith will continue to grow and blossom. And we'll now move into our next question. And it's from Jackson Metler. And it says, what's your advice to someone who is struggling to find God in a world of commotion?
That's a great question because the world gets so loud. You turn on the TV and boom, there's stuff. In America, this last political season, it was like very divisive, and most of us want peace. Most of us want, comforting peace right down the middle of the road. And I think when the world gets really loud, I think prayer has almost been a theme tonight as we've talked. I would go right to that. When things are loud and your life feels full of commotion, you can shut the door to your bedroom. You can drop to your knees, and you can speak to your Father in heaven with no one else around, and just say whatever you want. Talk to him like he is your Father in heaven. And when you close your eyes, imagine that he's sitting right there with you and that he loves you more than you'll ever comprehend or understand. And just share with him your feelings, what you're feeling, what you're afraid of, what you want more than anything. Ask him for help to do what you're trying to do in your life. And if you do that, you'll feel close to him. You'll feel his spirit close to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that and for sharing your testimony. And I know we can see that you know that these things are true, and we just want to share that we also know that these things are true as well. And looks like we are all out of time for more questions, but we'd just like to invite anyone, if anyone had questions that they didn't get answered, they can feel free to reach out to the page, and we'd be happy to answer any other questions that anyone may have.
Mm-hmm. We're now going to be hearing a closing musical number by Amber Dickens. We're sorry that the opening musical number was actually done by Denise Fogelman. We mixed that up a little bit. And then we're going to be hearing a closing prayer by Peggy Yerkes. And after the prayer, we'll bring Chad back on screen for some closing remarks.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we give thanks. We give thanks that we have this opportunity to gather together, and for all those that have worked so hard to be able to put these wonderful speakers together. We are thankful for the love that they show all of us by willing to share of their time, their knowledge, their faith, and we ask for thy Spirit to be with each of us. And we ask for a healing of individuals, a healing for our country, and a healing for our world. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for your message tonight. Do you have any last thoughts that you would like to share with us before we end?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a total miracle to be looking at your face right now, Elder Fellows. You're an incredible guy. You're changing people's hearts and lives, and I'm so grateful you'd asked me to be a part of this. Thank you guys. Elder Palmer, you too. Thank you guys. Keep doing great work, and just tear it up.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
Hey, Parker. Hey, Elder Fellows. How are you?
Hey,
Hi. Good to see you.
good to see you too.
You're our grandbaby.
Thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. We're going to be having another Walk in the Light devotional next Saturday, so make sure to tune in again at 7 p.m.